Thanks for downloading Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Today's show can be found in many ways. iTunes, the Ehnotherpodcast.com webpage, and now can be found on Stitcher.com. You can now stream the latest show anywhere with the Stitcher app, on your computer, even on your boss's computer. Ehnother Podcast is now at your fingertips every day of the week and at your convenience. Enjoy today's episode of Warlock Wednesdays. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor. Hello and welcome to another Warlock Hour. It's Warlock Wednesdays with Rayzor, and just want to say up front that I'm not feeling great, so if you hear me sniffling or my voice kind of sounds funny, that's probably why. However, I'm here still doing the show. It is Monday night. You'll be listening on Wednesday, but as always, I record on Monday night. So it's Monday night here in Sudbury, and we're going to get right to things. I've got a few things that I want to get through, a couple of things I want to talk about that kind of got me upset this week, but let's get to the first thing on the agenda, as always, is the comic book releases for the week. This week from DC Comics, Batman number 20, Justice League of America number 3, Katana number 4, Smallville Season 11 number 13, Suicide Squad number 14, Suicide Squad number 20, not number 14, I was looking at a different number. So that's Suicide Squad number 20 coming out this week. So those are your comics from DC. For myself personally, I will only be picking up Suicide Squad number 20. From Marvel this week, Avengers number 11, Deadpool number 9, Secret Avengers number 4, Uncanny Avengers number 8, and Wolverine number 3. Very Avengers packed, and I'm picking up 4 of these 5 issues: Deadpool, Secret Avengers, Uncanny Avengers, and Wolverine. So that's 5 issues I'm picking up this week, and that's pretty good because last week I picked up about 7. Add to that, Free Comic Book Day this past Saturday, which was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And now it is May the 6th, so it's Revenge of the 6th. Well, Free Comic Book Day in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada is a little different than everywhere else. We only have one local comic book store, so they ran out pretty fast. I had to work. I managed to grab one book. I picked up Iron Man number 6 as my Free Comic Book Day comic. I would have liked to have gotten a few more, and I didn't this year. Hopefully in the years to come, I will. But moving on, we have some independent comic book releases from Dork? No, it's not Dork. It's Dark Horse Comics. 2 issues this week that of note: Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 9, number 21, and Star Wars number 5. From Dynamite Entertainment this week, Grimm number 1, which is based off the television show Grimm. So I might pick this up. I'm not sure. I'm going to look into it. But I do like the show, so maybe the comic will be enjoyable. Also from Dynamite Entertainment this week, Vampirella number 29. From IDW Publishing, Star Trek number 20. And finally, for your last comic book release that I will mention this week, Image Comics, Witchblade number 166. So that is your comic book releases for the week. I hope you enjoy reading the comics you picked up. I know I will once I get them. I'm a little bit behind actually on my comic book reading, so the ones I pick up this week will probably just go in a little bit of a pile that I've got building up. You know, the hockey playoffs are going on, plus television shows are coming to their season finales. But I do read them all. They're great reads. They're short reads, so I do read them all. Let's get right into the movie news. And as everybody expected last week, this week's number 1 movie, of course, Iron Man 3. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. Last week, I said the predictions were between 100 and 150 million. Well, those predictions were a little underwhelming. Iron Man 3 opened in North America to a whopping $174.1 million. Now, this, I say, is whopping because it puts it second all-time in the all-time openings of movies, only behind The Avengers. The only movie to ever beat this opening was the movie last year that made $207.4 million in its opening weekend, and this is kind of the follow-up. Most people didn't view this movie as a sequel to Iron Man 2, but rather as a follow-up movie to the Avengers. It's the first thing we've got to see since the Avengers came out. Now, add to this that the movie was released worldwide a couple of weeks ago now, well, a week and a half ago as I'm saying this, but it came out the week before in some foreign markets. So overseas, the movie has already made over $500 million. It has made $504.8 million, bringing its worldwide total to $678.9 million. Like, this movie is going to easily crack the $1 billion mark in the world. Now, what's it going to do in North America will remain to be seen. There are a lot of big blockbusters still to come out, especially this month. Now, this coming week, it still has free reign. There's not a lot coming out this week. The only movie coming out this week, let's get to the new releases right now. I'm still going to do your top 10, don't worry, but the new release this week is Great Gatsby, and I'm sorry, I don't see it pulling a lot away from the Avengers, or from Iron Man 3, because it's a different type of crowd. Different people are going to go see Great Gatsby than go see Iron Man 3. However, 2 weeks from now, or a week and a half, actually, we have Star Trek, which will start taking people away, and then the week after that, we have Fast and the Furious 6. So those movies, they'll start to taper off, and the predictions are that it's going to be, if you amortize it out, it could easily make in the neighborhood of $430 to $470 million in North America. Now, I mean, it's not going to follow the Avengers. It's definitely not going to be a $1 billion North American movie, but this is fantastic for Marvel. It's fantastic for the franchise, the cinematic universe, and like, we still have Thor: The Dark World coming out later this year, and then we have Captain America: Winter Soldier coming out next year, which are the other two kind of follow-up movies to the Avengers. They won't even come anywhere close to this. Let's face it, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is really the cornerstone right now of the Marvel Universe. He's getting older. It's going to change. Odds are there won't even be another Iron Man movie. He will do Avengers 2, possibly Avengers 3. That could be it for Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. So they really have to continue building on the successes of what's been going on. So I'm very pleased to say that Iron Man 3 really drove it home this week that comic book movies and superhero movies are definitely what people want to see, and especially good ones. Like, there's a lot of people who are going to say they hated Iron Man 3, especially fanboys. Fanboys are going to say they hated Iron Man 3 because they didn't like Mandarin. Now, I'm going to spoil some movies for you, so if you don't want any spoilers, you might want to skip ahead. Ben Kingsley, touted all along to play the Mandarin, is not the Mandarin. The actual Mandarin is being played by Guy Pearce. Now, one of the biggest problems is that people said that, or people who are fans wanted the rings of power, so to speak. They wanted Mandarin to be very magical. Well, they went a different route. They went technical. They went science-y. But what is magic? Magic is basically science. When people believed in magic in like the 1200s and the 1300s and even into the 1500s when we had witch trials and stuff like that, really it was just science. It was people not understanding stuff. So I can kind of see where they went with this. Now, I had a discussion earlier today with another fan, and the thing is, he was taking apart, and you probably heard this. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use this as an example. I'm gonna forget what I was just saying. On Ehnother Monday, or Ehnother Podcast, James tore apart Superman, the original Superman with Christopher Reeves. However, it is based on a comic book. It's supposed to be fantastical. You can't use real world physics to explain things. For example, he used the craft entering the atmosphere and how it got radiated, and wouldn't that make Superman Kal-El Clark Kent, whatever, immune to kryptonite. Well, no, it wouldn't. First of all, the capsule was radiated, not Superman, not Kal-El. He was inside protected with shielding. So that explains that. The whole not popping off the woman's head because he didn't know his own strength, because he didn't know he was an alien. I don't know exactly how much, I don't remember exactly how much is shown in the movie, but all through the trip, Clark is being spoken to by his father, Jor-El, explaining things. So he knows that he's going to be different. He knows that there's going to be... He can't just squeeze. And people hug differently than they pick up a car. You're not going to use all your... Do you go and crush somebody when you hug them? No. You could hurt them. You never know what they could have. You don't do that. So that explains that. Then there was the... what was the other one he said? I can't think of it right now, but... the flying. The flying, how Lois would be dangling instead of, out there. Well, you're supposed to believe that in comics, Superman could transfer the gravitational, pull so that when he touches her, the gravity that doesn't exist around him now doesn't exist around her in the same manner that it would exist. It's a comic book movie. You can't place real world physics on a comic book movie. That's just my theory. And, out of all the things they mentioned, one thing they didn't mention is when he swoops down and he catches her. Well, if he's made of steel, she should have been sliced into 3 different sections, right? It's a comic book movie. You can't tear these apart and look for real-world things. Now, one thing I will say is that Marvel, while there is going to be some fantastical elements and mystical elements, especially with other movies coming out in the future, and, we have Thor, who's an Asgardian, and stuff like that, Marvel is really, and even the comics are based more in a real-world setting than the DC Universe. Marvel uses real cities. Most of their heroes are set in New York, or, in Iron Man's case, Miami, they set them in real cities. DC Universe made up cities. Metropolis, Gotham City, those are made up places. So, obviously a DC movie is going to be way more fantastical than a Marvel movie, because there's so much out there elements in the DC Universe. They also overpower all their heroes, but, that's another story to argue with at another time. Right now, we're talking movies. Let's get back to the top 10, because I don't want to continue on like this, because I could go on and on and on and on about comic book heroes. So number 2 this week, dropping a whopping 63% due to the fact that Iron Man came out. Pain and Gain bringing in another $7.5 million. 42 holding steady in number 3 with $6 million. Oblivion drops from 2 to 4 and brings in $5.6 million. The Croods hold steady at number 5 with $4.2 million. Big Wedding drops 2 spots from 4 to 6 with $3.8 million. Movie called Mud actually jumps up our charts this week. Mud was a limited release week before. It's still in limited release. It's only on it's only on 576 screens, whereas last week it was only on 363 screens. So that movie is a, let's see here if I can find out what it was. I think it's it has Matthew McConaughey, Sam Shepard, Reese Witherspoon. Not 100% sure what it was about, but basically, this movie is very limited release right now, so it jumps 11th to 7th with $2.1 million, bringing its total of 2 weeks of limited release up to $5 million. Oz the Great and Powerful had a surge this week. It went from 13th back up to 8th. Bringing in $2.1 million. Scary Movie drops from 7 to 9. That's Scary Movie 5 with $1.4 million. And Place Beyond the Pines rounds out your top 10, dropping from 9th to 10th and bringing in $1.2 million. So those are your top 10. As I already said, your new release for this coming week is The Great Gatsby, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Carrie, I want to say Carrie Mulligan. I think that's right. And then Tobey Maguire. So that's your new release for this week. Moving on to movie news. Natalie Portman has landed the role of Lady Macbeth in a new version of Hamlet. Michael Fassbender will be playing a... Oh, sorry, this is not... Sorry, did I say Hamlet? I meant Macbeth. Obviously, Lady Macbeth. And Lord Macbeth will be played by Michael Fassbender. So this is going to be directed by Justin Kurzel, and they're going to retain the play's 11th century setting and use the original dialogue. So they are going to definitely use a more traditional Shakespearean thing instead of modernizing it. So that's set to go underway. Doesn't say whether the production is still in pre-production, but Natalie Portman is going to be playing Lady Macbeth in that film. J.J. Abrams expects John Williams to return for Star Wars Episode 7. John Williams has said that he would like to be involved, and he has scored all the previous Star Wars films, so it's no brainer that JJ would want him to come on board for Episode 7. It looks like they are in talks right now, and once again, I'm sorry for being sick. I'm doing my best here, but he's in talks right now, and definitely J.J. Abrams wants him to return for Episode 7. Lily James of Downton Abbey fame has been cast as Cinderella in a new interpretation for the movie. It's live action, and this movie is going to basically be an updated version from the 1950s animated classic. Obviously, Cinderella has been adapted so many times, but this is a new live action version coming from director Sir Kenneth Branagh, and also stars Cate Blanchett as the evil stepmother. So look forward to that in the future. There's going to be more announcements on that in the coming weeks, so we'll probably find out maybe when it's coming out and when it's due to go into full production. Alright, some things that have made me disappointed this week. Well, let's get to the good stuff first. Let's go through things. Alright. Fantastic Four is getting a reboot. Fox retained the rights to reboot the franchise, and they're starting their casting process. Now, Allison Williams right now is in a short list of people to star as Sue Storm. I have no problem with this. I don't know her acting very well. She's one of the stars of HBO's Girls, which I've never watched. She's also been cast in a movie called Rosaline, so that's going to be coming out. Josh Trank, who's going to be directing Fantastic Four, says she's a strong contender for the role. Doesn't mean she's going to get it, it's just a rumor. I haven't seen much of her acting, so I don't know whether it's going to be good. Now, here's the thing. The rumor for Johnny Storm, who is Sue Storm's brother, is Michael B. Jordan. Now, again, no problem with him. The only problem I have is this. Michael B. Jordan is of the Negroid persuasion, and Allison Williams is of the Caucasoid persuasion. Now, I don't know if Josh Trank or Fox has ever picked up a comic and read it, but Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are brother and sister. They have to be the same race. I don't care if you keep them white. I don't care if you turn them black. I don't care if you make them Asian. I don't care if you make them Indian. I don't care what race you're going to be using. If you're going to be using Michael, who is of the Negroid persuasion, then please cast a Negroid actress to play his sister. I don't care what you do as far as race changing, but be consistent. They are brother and sister. Now, some people are going to say that you can say one was adopted or one is a step sibling or they have different fathers, but that's not the way it is in the comic. Like, Fox, you've screwed up so many times with so many different properties, and I don't know this Josh Trank from a hole in the ground, but they both need to pick up a comic and read it, Because if you're going to make a movie about the Fantastic Four, you have to get one thing right. Well, you have to get more than one thing right, but one of the things you got to get right is Sue and Johnny are brother and sister. Get that right. Get it right. I don't care who you cast right now. I know who I would like to see play them, but I mean they're busy, so most of my picks are probably not going to get it. But there are actors out there and actresses out there that kind of look similar that could play brother and sister. I thought they did a decent job last time with Chris Evans and Jessica Biel. They kind of looked similar. They did a very good job. Was the movie great? No, but it was still decent. It was good casting. Actually, I think the casting all around was fairly good. But I know everything's rumor at this point, so I don't want to get too mad about it. But I mean, you can't rumor one and rumor another, and they're not even close to being brother and sister. Please, for the love of all that is comic book gods, read some Fantastic Four comics and find out that these guys are brother and sister. Also, some kind of optimistic news about this Fantastic Four thing is that my favorite Doctor of all time, Mr. David Tennant, has said that he would really be interested in playing Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic. He was talking in an interview, and it was about his upcoming miniseries, Spies of Warsaw, and they asked him about playing a superhero, some kind of hero or whatever. And he said, I don't know which ones I would suit, really. I can't imagine who I could play. I'm a bit old for a lot of them now, which is a terrible, alarming truth. Who could I be? I could probably still do Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I don't know. Villains are always great. I'd be very happy to do a bit of that. They're the one growth industry in movies at the moment, so it would be nice to do one, I suppose, as either the good guy or the bad guy. The bad guys probably get the better lines, don't they? And they wear less spandex. That would be quite good. So, he's definitely interested, and one of the things I also want to say, along with David Tennant kind of expressing interest to play maybe Dr. Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, he is also now being rumored for the voice of Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy. As we know, there's only 2 cast members left to be cast, as Kevin Feige confirmed that Zoe Saldana is going to be playing Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy. The only 2 left to cast are Rocket Raccoon and Groot, which are basically going to be voice-over actors. They're not going to be actual actors doing the stuff. They'll probably be doing some motion capture, but for all intents and purposes, they're voice actors that they're looking for, and David Tennant has been tapped to voice the character of Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy, which I would love. I would love to see David Tennant come on board into the Marvel Universe and do some really great things. If it's this, if it's playing Dr. Reed Richards, I just want him involved. Speaking of Kevin Feige, he updated us with Ant-Man. Marvel Studios' plans for Ant-Man says that they have to rewrite the script because there's some continuity that needs to be addressed. He said that, frankly, now we have to rewrite it to put it a little bit more into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it was written before it existed. We've talked about various names to play the lead over the past 8 years, but as you can imagine, they keep changing as time goes by. But towards the end of this year, we'll buckle down and start casting and start refining the script, which is great and which is very Edgar. He has done a great job being incredibly true to the comics, but is putting his own spin on it, so we'll be drawing on multiple mythologies for this one. Also, Kevin went on to say that Daredevil, The Punisher, Blade, and Ghost Rider have all come back to the Marvel Universe. What that means is the studios that owned these rights no longer are making any movies. Daredevil was owned by Fox. They gave up the rights to that and decided to pursue Fantastic Four. Punisher, I believe, was owned by Lionsgate or MGM. Either one, they gave up on it after War Journal flopped. Blade was New Line Cinema, which I don't know who took over New Line Cinema. I forget the company, but they no longer have Blade. And Ghost Rider was Sony, and after the horrible, unsuccessful Ghost Rider 2, that has also been reverted back to Marvel. So Marvel Studios has gained 4 more characters that they can use. Now, here's the thing. They all have potential, but we're not going to say when we're going to make them. We got it back. That just means that... here's the full quote. I don't want to screw up the way he said it. Whenever a character comes back to us, it's usually because the other studios don't want to make the movies anymore, which is what I said. And that usually means the previous movies may not have been particularly well received. They all have potential, but we're not going to say, we got it back, make it. So, they don't want to go just make the movies because they got the characters back. They want to do this right. Now, what worked with some of those movies and what didn't work with some of those movies are two different things. The Blade movies were very successful. The Blade trilogy was very successful, but I think with the fact that Wesley Snipes was kind of done with it, the third one didn't reach the potential that they wanted, but it still was successful. And then Wesley Snipes obviously had the time in jail. That kind of hurt them. So I think that was just reason. There was many different reasons why that was left. Again, Punisher, first one did okay. Wasn't huge success. Loved by some people, hated by a lot. War Journal, hated by a lot, loved by very few. Daredevil, a lot of people bag on Ben Affleck for ruining Daredevil. Ben Affleck did not ruin Daredevil. The script writing ruined Daredevil. Ben Affleck's only as good as the script he has. He's gotten some bad scripts, I will not lie. Which is probably why he went into directing, because then at least he knows which scripts he's working with. Ghost Rider, I loved the thought of Nicolas Cage playing Ghost Rider. He was a huge fan. He has that skinny face already that's almost like a skull. I mean, it seemed perfect. The first one was entertaining. Wasn't really a Ghost Rider movie. The second one tried too hard, and it still missed the mark. So, it's tough to determine where you want to go, but the good news is they're now back in Marvel's possession. The ones we'll probably never see come back, Spider-Man, X-Men, and we'll see how Fantastic Four goes from here on out. But Spider-Man and X-Men, those are pretty much out there for quite some time. Okay, moving on to World of Warcraft, the movie. Nick Carpenter, Vice President of Art and Cinematics at Blizzard, recently revealed that visual effects specialist Bill Westenhofer of Rhythm and Hue Studio will be directing the Warcraft live-action film's special effects department. He will be in charge. He will be the man who basically brings it all to life. Now, you may not recognize the name, however, he is an Academy Award-winning visual effects worker. He won awards on The Golden Compass and Life of Pi, as well as being nominated on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He also did special effects in the movie Elf, Men in Black 2, Stuart Little, and Speed 2. So, and there was others, but those are just some notable ones. So, as long as it's been since this Warcraft movie has been announced, there are steps moving forward. We have a director, and now we have a visual effects supervisor. So, or a visual effects director, whatever you want to call him. So that's good, and they got to keep moving forward. Last week or the week before, I said there was a rumor that, who was it? Tom Hiddleston was in talks to play the Crow. Sadly, that rumor is now squashed because they have cast the Crow, and I'm disappointed. I really wanted to see Tom Hiddleston play the Crow as soon as I heard that he was in talks, and he was in the mix, and he was being talked to. Here are the actors that were in the mix. James McAvoy, Tom Hiddleston, and Alexander Skarsgård. Now, two of those three I would have loved to have seen, Tom Hiddleston and Alexander Skarsgård. Either one, for me, would have been awesome as the Crow. Neither of these three got the part. The part went to Luke Evans. Those of you who don't know Luke Evans, he is Bard the Bowman in Peter Jackson's The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, so he'll be in the next one. He's also already been cast as Dracula, And he's going to be playing the villain in this in 3 weeks for Fast and Furious 6. He was one of the Three Musketeers in Paul W.S. Anderson's reimagining of the Three Musketeers. He played in Clash of the Titans, where he played Apollo. And he also played Zeus in The Immortals. So, I mean, he's done some movies. I just don't see him as the Crow, and now I'm disappointed again. So, moving on. Tom Cruise has officially signed to star in Mission Impossible 5. Worldwide, the last Mission Impossible movie, Ghost Protocol, made $694.7 million. Paramount Pictures and Skydance Productions are ready to move forward with this movie and have signed Tom Cruise to reprise his role as Ethan Hunt. He'll also be on as producer, not that you care. They have not revealed who's writing or directing or when the release date will be, but it is now confirmed that Mission Impossible 5 will go ahead. One of the early rumors is Christopher McQuarrie, who directed Tom and Jack Reacher, will be possibly in talks to do Mission Impossible 5. So that's where that is for now. Okay, so let's move on to one bit of TV news. And I wouldn't normally do this because I like to know a little bit more about it before I say anything. But as soon as I saw who it was about, I thought it'd be cool to mention it. Life's Too Short Special is a television series that aired on HBO last year, and it starred Warwick Davis and how he tried to basically reboot his career. Now, for those of you who don't recognize the name, you should. He's played in many movies that you will probably kick yourself once you hear. He was Professor Flitwick in the Harry Potter movies. He also played the Goblin Griphook in both the first movie and the last movie. He was also in the Star Wars films, where he played Wicket, the Ewok, and of course where he got his big break in Willow alongside Val Kilmer. Now, this miniseries will reprise his role as a fictionalized version of himself, and it's a 7-episode series, which is going to debut, which begins, July 5th, and Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, who produced and wrote the first series, are back to do this one, and they are working on this with Warwick, who is now definitely succeeding a little bit more, and he runs a business now called Dwarfs for Hire, which is a talent agency for fellow showbiz little people. He regularly sought advice from people to jumpstart his fading career. So this is what I wanted to say about TV news, and that is it for your entertainment news at this time. So, before we move forward, I have, instead of going right to some sports, I have a couple of gaming news. As I said, I would bring gaming news in sporadically. And this week, first of all, as of May the 6th, Disney and EA have announced a multi-year Star Wars games agreement. Walt Disney Company and Electronic Arts announced a multi-year exclusive licensing agreement that will see the games being developed in many genres, many platforms, and appealing to the different core audiences of each. Disney will retain certain rights to develop titles within the mobile, social, tablet, and online game categories, but platform and interactive platforms and core gaming audiences will be handled by EA. So kind of your like Star Wars: The Old Republic, some of the I can't even think of some of the labels because I didn't play many of them. But basically, you're more. I'm assuming more of your mature games for your platforms like your PS3, your Wii, Xbox, PC. Those will be handled by EA. Anything that's mobile or social or some of their more Disney-esque games will be handled by Disney itself. So that's the agreement that's being that was announced, and obviously financial terms were not disclosed. Also, EA announced today, or May the 6th, being Monday today for me, which will be 2 days ago for you, that they are going to be releasing The Sims 4. I am not a fan of The Sims, however, I know a lot of people are. It will be coming to the PC and Mac in 2014. So that's my bit of gaming news, and I'm going to take a little break right now, and we'll give you a little bit of advice about zombie portraits from Rob Cicetto.
Hi, I'm Rob Cicetto, creator of Zombie Portraits. You can check out Zombie Portraits at zombieportraits.com.
All right, so now that I'm back, we're going to move on to sports news. The NHL Playoffs are well underway now, and we have most of Monday night's games in the bag, which means they have their final scores announced as I'm recording, so we'll go over updated statistics as they are right now. Okay, in the Western Conference, Chicago and Minnesota have played 3 games. Chicago leads the series 2-1. Detroit and Anaheim have played 4 games. That series is tied before it heads back to Anaheim. The San Jose Sharks have a 3-0 lead over the Vancouver Canucks. And St. Louis leads the LA Kings 2-1 and are currently playing in the third period with a score of 3-3. I will keep this page open, and if that score changes between now and the end of the podcast, I will let you know. Over in the Eastern Conference, the Pittsburgh Penguins lead their series 2-1. The Ottawa Senators are leading Montreal Canadiens 2-1. The New York Rangers are trailing the Washington Capitals 2-1, and the Boston Bruins are leading the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1. So a lot of 2-1s here. A lot of series could be tied within the next day or two. By the time you listen on Wednesday, we could have many series ties. Update on the score: Los Angeles just scored. It is now 4-3 with 11 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third. So just to give you an update on that. Also, the only other series that could be over very quickly is the San Jose Sharks eliminating the Vancouver Canucks in 4 straight. I don't think that's going to happen. However, I will say the San Jose Sharks have a good chance of defeating the Vancouver Canucks, and that's something that I predicted. I said it would be in 6 games. It could be a lot sooner. And also, to add to that, I also said that the Vancouver Canucks are choke artists. They know how to lose in the playoffs. They do it very well, and it looks like they're doing it again. So let's look at some statistics for the playoffs. Your points leaders for the playoffs. First place points leader, 7 points for David Krejci of the Boston Bruins. Goal leader is Logan Couture, Pascal Dupuis, Nathan Horton, Patrick Marleau, and don't know how to say this guy's name, Jean-Gabriel Pageau of the Ottawa Senators. He's a rookie. All of those players have 3 goals apiece. Goals against average, Brian Elliott of the St. Louis Blues with a .93 save goals against, and a save percentage. He's also leading at a .962 save percentage. Your assist leaders, Milan Lucic of the Boston Bruins with 6. Your plus-minus leaders are tied, all Boston Bruins players, David Krejci, Milan Lucic, Nathan Horton, and Andy McQuaid, all with a +5. Your goaltending leaders right now, since a lot of the series are 2-1 or 2-2, is Anthony Niemi with 3 wins, and we have a few goalies, 4 of them in fact, that have had shutouts so far. Braden Holtby of the Capitals, Jonas Hiller of the Ducks, Marc-Andre Fleury of the Penguins, and Jonathan Quick of the LA Kings. So those are your statistics. Those are your series standings as they are right now. Still 4-3 Los Angeles. We're going to move on to baseball, and if that score changes before the end, I will keep you apprised. Oh, I almost forgot. There is one more thing about hockey I want to talk about. This past week, in the playoffs, there was a suspension that I was unsure about, and I think a lot of players were too. There was a hit on a Montreal player in the first game of the first round. Ottawa Senators defenseman Eric Gryba hit Lars Eller in what almost 90% of everybody in the world of hockey called a legal hit, a legal check. He hit shoulder to shoulder. It was a kind of blindsided hit because Rafael Diaz made a suicide pass up the middle, and there was no way Lars Eller wasn't going to be hit, but if he wouldn't have taken the pass, he probably would have noticed the hit, and maybe the hit would have been severe. Now, on the hit, Eller did hit the ice pretty hard, and when he hit the ice, he smacked his face on the ice, breaking teeth, injuring his nose. There was blood. It was pretty brutal and graphic hit. However, the hit was clean. You watch the hit, and I've seen the hit from 4 different angles. You can look it up on YouTube. Look up Gryba, Gryba, hit on Lars Eller, Larseller. I'm sure you can find it, and apparently it was an illegal check to the head. Mr. Brendan Shanahan, who's the league's basically the guy who suspends them, said that it was the principal point of contact was the head. Well, I never see that in any of the angles I see. He hits the shoulder first. The head might have jerked back. In fact, in one of the angles, it even looks like Lars Eller kind of turned his head. All the damage is done through him hitting the ice. It was graphic. It was a brutal hit. At best, they could say he was defenseless player and maybe suspend him for 1 game. No, they said the principal point of contact was the head. They suspended him for 2 games. So what they're saying is, in the regular season, that hit, which was perfectly legal by almost everybody's accounts, except for Habs fans and Brendan Shanahan, that it was going to be a 5-game suspension. Because as much as the league says they don't do this, the suspensions in the playoffs are always smaller than the suspensions in the regular season. If a player is suspended for 1 game in the playoffs, he probably would have got a 2 or 3 game in the regular season. So a player who's suspended for 2 games in the playoffs probably would have got a 5-game suspension in the regular season. So it just boggles my mind, and it also makes players wonder, what the hell are we going to do? Because we're throwing legal hits, and you're still giving us suspensions and fines and all that kind of good stuff. Now, there have been plays that have warranted suspensions in the playoffs. Justin Abelkader just got one from Detroit for a head hit on a Ducks player. I can't remember off the top of my head. The only one I had set up here was the Gryba hit on Eller. But yeah, there's been hits that were illegal and all that kind of good stuff. But this one was not illegal. It was a perfectly clean hit. It was a bad result. At best, at worst case scenario, it should have said he was a defenseless player who got hit in a defenseless position, 1 game suspension. No, they said it was a principal contact to the head and 2 game suspension. And before they finally do move on to that baseball, the final score in the LA Kings game, Los Angeles 4, St. Louis 3. That is a final. And Los Angeles has tied the series up at 2 games apiece before they head to St. Louis. So that series has become a series and is going to become an interesting one as we move back to St. Louis. So moving on to baseball, standings. In the American League, your division leaders, the AL East is being led by the Boston Red Sox. Your West leaders are the Texas Rangers, and your Central leaders are the Detroit Tigers. Your wild cards right now is a 3-way tie, so 2 of these 3 teams will have a good chance of getting in. As of right now, the Kansas City Royals, the New York Yankees, and the Baltimore Orioles. Over in the National League, their division leaders, St. Louis Cardinals, and that is in the NL Central. The NL East is the Atlanta Braves, and the NL West is the San Francisco Giants. Your wild card leaders are again a three-way kind of tie. Colorado Rockies, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Cincinnati Reds. Washington Nationals being right behind them, only half a game. So let's look at some statistics for baseball. Okay, your home run leaders. Justin Upton with 12. John Buck, and Justin Upton plays for the Braves, just so you know. John Buck of the Mets and Mark Reynolds of the Indians each have 10. And then we have Chris Davis of the Orioles, Bryce Harper of the Nationals, J.P. Aaron, CB, and Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays, and Michael Morse of the Mariners, all with 9. Your RBI leaders. From the Tigers, Miguel Cabrera with 36. Also from the Tigers, Prince Fielder with 32. Mike Napoli of the Red Sox has 31, Chris Davis of the Orioles has 30, and John Buck of the Mets has 29. Stolen base leaders, Jacoby Ellsbury has 12 from the Red Sox, Juan Pierre of the Marlins has 11, Starling Marte of the Pirates has 10, Nate McLouth of the Orioles has 9, and then Everett Cabrera of the Padres, Coco Crisp of the Oakland Athletics, and Jean Segura of the Brewers all have 8. Moving on to some pitching statistics, Clay Buchholz of the Red Sox is your pitching wins leader with 6, and then we have Matt Moore of the Rays, Yu Darvish of the Rangers, Jason Hamill of the Orioles, Lance Lynn of the Cardinals, and Jordan Zimmerman of the Nationals, all with 5. Your strikeout leaders, Yu Darvish leading the way for the Rangers with 72, A.J. Burnett with the Pirates, 57. Max Scherzer with the Tigers, 54. Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers, 52. And Jeff Samardzija of the Cubs, I'm probably butchering that name, also with 52 strikeouts. And your saves leaders, Jason Grilli of the Pirates with 12. Also Sergio Romo of the Giants has 12. And then Jim Johnson of the Orioles, Addison Reed of the White Sox, and Mariano Rivera of the Yankees, all with 11. So those are your statistics for your baseball standing, or your baseball, MLB, baseball, whatever. I can't speak because I'm not thinking straight. Those are your baseball statistics, your baseball standings, and update on the score is still 4-3 with 9:42 left in the third. That is for the LA Kings, looking to tie that series up at home before they head back to St. Louis. And that, my friends, is all for this week. It's a little shorter than normal, I know. Under an hour. I haven't been under an hour in a long time. I have a few, but I'm not feeling great. I wanted to get through it. I hope I didn't mess it up too much. I hope you're still listening at this point. And remember, we are now available on multiple platforms. You can find us at ehnotherpodcast.com, on iTunes, and now on Stitcher.com. And you can stream us through Stitcher, either on your computer, or you can download the app and do it that way. Although, you know, if you have limits to your bandwidth, you may want to just download it and listen to us on your iPhone or iPod, and, you know, or just listen to us at home. Either way, you can find us in so many different ways now, and I hope you tune in all next week for a new week of the podcast here at Ehnotherpodcast.com. And that is it for me this week. I hope you come back next week, and until then, I'm out. Thanks for listening to Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ehnother Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Ehnother Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.